In the storm, beneath the trembling glow of a dying streetlight, sat a motionless wheelchair. Its red safety light blinked weakly, fading like a heartbeat losing strength. Inside it, Emily Carter, 19, pulled her soaked hoodie tighter. Her lips were pale, her fingers numb. The battery of her chair had died an hour ago. Her phone, not long after. Now there was nothing but rain, darkness, and the occasional flash of headlights that never slowed. Each car passed like a blur of indifference, tires slicing through puddles, wipers sweeping away a world they didn't care to see. She whispered to herself, voice trembling, "Please, just one person," but no one came. Thunder rolled across the fields, and in that booming echo she heard her father's voice from years ago. "People are good, and you just have to give them a chance." She had believed that once, believed in kindness, in humanity, in the good she wrote about in her college essay. But tonight, stranded and invisible, that faith was drowning faster than she was. A semi-truck roared past, wind slamming her chair toward the edge of the guardrail. Panic surged. She screamed. Her voice vanished into the storm. Tears mixed with the rain, her breath sharp with fear. Then, a sound she didn't expect. Brakes, a vehicle slowing down. Through the veil of rain, 2 headlights pulled over and stopped. A door creaked open, and a tall figure stepped out, jacket soaked, boots splashing through the puddles. He called out over the rain, voice steady but urgent. "Hey, you okay out here?" Emily froze, part fear, part disbelief. After hours of silence, someone had finally stopped, and though she didn't know it yet, that moment would change both their lives forever. The man approached slowly through the curtain of rain, one hand raised so she could see he meant no harm. His voice was calm, steady, like an anchor in the chaos. "I'm Jake," he said, stopping a few feet away. "Mechanic? My shop's about 5 miles back. Looks like your wheels gave up on you." Emily's heart pounded, her mind racing between caution and relief. She studied him. Late 20s, maybe. Drenched from head to toe. A worn jacket clinging to his frame. Sleeves stained with grease that even the rain couldn't wash away. She hesitated, her voice barely above a whisper. Battery died. And my phone's dead, too. Jake crouched down beside her wheelchair, a small flashlight between his teeth. Its shaky beam lit the puddles at their feet. He brushed wet hair from his eyes, inspecting the tangled wires beneath the seat. "Yeah," he muttered, half to himself. "My water might have shorted the connector." Poor thing never stood a chance tonight. Emily watched him, unsure what to say. Most people stared at her with pity, or avoided looking at all. But Jake didn't do either. He just worked, focused, patient, treating her chair like any other machine that deserved fixing. "You picked a rough night for a breakdown," he said lightly, glancing up. A small laugh escaped her lips. "Didn't exactly plan it," he smiled, quick, genuine. No one ever does. Standing, Jake rubbed his hands together, breath fogging in the cold air. "Listen, I've got tools and a portable charger in my truck. I can try to jump the battery, if that's okay with you." Emily hesitated, her pulse quickening. A part of her screamed not to trust a stranger on a dark road, but something in his tone, humble, respectful, felt safe. She nodded. "Okay, good call," Jake said, giving her a reassuring grin, before jogging back through the storm toward his truck. As she watched him go, Emily felt something shift inside her, a flicker of warmth cutting through the cold. For the first time that night she wasn't invisible. Someone had seen her, and that changed everything. Jake's pickup idled by the shoulder, its headlights slicing through the rain like pale blades. He swung open the tailgate, grabbed a heavy toolbox, and jogged back toward Emily, boots splashing in puddles. "All right," he said, crouching beside her again. "Let's see what kind of miracle we can pull off tonight." He flipped the latches open, revealing rows of tools neatly arranged despite years of use. Rain drummed against the metal as he dug through for a set of cables. Emily tilted her head. "You're really going to jumpstart a wheelchair?" Jake grinned, teeth flashing in the dim light. "Well, it's either that or push you 5 miles home. You pick." A startled laugh escaped her. "I'll take the jumpstart," he chuckled softly and connected the clamps to his truck's battery. The cables hissed in the rain, tiny sparks snapping in the dark. Emily flinched. "Hey," he said gently, eyes lifting to meet hers. "Don't worry. I've done dumber things in worse weather," she smiled faintly. "That's not very reassuring." "Didn't say I was smart," he replied, grinning. Something about his warmth, the way he joked without pity, eased her tension. It was strange, standing here in the middle of nowhere, trusting a complete stranger. Yet somehow she did. Jake leaned closer to inspect the control panel. "All right, Em. Can I call you Em?" She nodded. "Okay, Em. Let's see if this old heart still beats." He twisted a wire, tightened a bolt, then flipped the main switch. For a second, nothing. Just rain and silence. Then, a faint hum. A flicker of light blinked on the wheelchair's dashboard. Emily gasped. It's working." Jake leaned back, relief spreading across his face. "Told you. Just needed a little stubbornness and a jump." She looked at him. Really looked. The soaked jacket, the tired eyes, the quiet decency in every motion. "You stopped when no one else did," said softly. Jake shrugged. "I was raised to fix what's broken. Doesn't always have to be machines." The storm still whispered around them. But for that moment, it felt like the world had paused. Two strangers sharing warmth in the rain. By the time they reached the edge of Emily's neighborhood, the storm had gentled into a soft drizzle. The highway's roar faded behind them, replaced by the steady hum of her wheelchair, alive again, rolling smoothly over wet pavement. Jake's pickup followed slowly behind, headlights forming a steady halo around her. Each time the chair hesitated, he eased closer, ready to help. Neither of them spoke much. There was comfort in the quiet, in the rhythm of the wheels and the patter of rain. At the corner of her street, Emily turned, pointing ahead. "That White House? With the porch light still on?" Jake nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Looks like someone's been waiting up." When she reached the driveway, she stopped and turned toward him. "You really don't have to follow me home." He rested an elbow on his truck's window frame, voice calm and simple. "Just making sure you get there safe." "Mechanic's code." The line made her laugh, soft but real. It was the kind of laugh she hadn't felt in weeks. "You and your codes," she said. "You're something else," Jake shrugged. "Guess the world runs better when someone's willing to stop once in a while." Emily swallowed hard, eyes glistening. "Thank you." "I mean it." He gave a faint nod, tipping his cap like an old-fashioned gentleman. "You do the same." With that, he pulled the gear into drive. His tail lights glowed red through the mist, growing smaller until they vanished into the distance, leaving her standing there, soaked and smiling at the road that had nearly broken her, now suddenly full of meaning. Inside, her father, Mark, rushed from the living room, worry etched into his face. "Emmy, I was about to call the police." She wheeled forward and wrapped her arms around him. "I'm fine, Dad." Someone stopped. "A mechanic. He helped me." Mark blinked, stunned. "He didn't take money?" Emily shook her head, voice trembling. He just smiled and said, "Keep it for your dreams." That night, long after she'd gone to bed, Mark sat at his desk, still shaken by the thought of a stranger's kindness, and, with quiet conviction, he began to type the headline that would soon change everything: "The Night Someone Stopped." By sunrise, the storm had cleared, but something else was spreading across Ohio. Mark's article, "The Night Someone Stopped," published at dawn on a small local site, began to ripple outward like circles in still water. What started as a heartfelt piece, a father's gratitude, soon became a story the internet couldn't ignore. Within hours, shares multiplied. By noon, news stations picked it up. By evening, strangers across the country were commenting, reposting, crying, faith in humanity restored. More people like Jake. "Please, this made my whole week." Emily scrolled through the messages, her heart full. She kept refreshing the page, watching the numbers rise. Likes, shares, views, but more than that, she saw hope returning to people's words. Meanwhile, Jake had no idea. He was back at the garage, coverall streaked with oil bent over a half-dead engine. The radio played softly in the corner. Static, ads, traffic updates. Then suddenly, a voice said, "Local mechanic from Dayton." Viral story of compassion. Jake straightened, frowning. "Wait, what?" His co-worker, Luis, burst through the shop door waving his phone. "Dude, you're trending." Jake wiped his hands on a rag, skeptic. "Trending for what? Fixing a carburetor?" Luis turned the screen toward him, Emily's photo beside his face, drenched in rain. Headline, "Mechanic becomes unexpected hero after stopping to help stranded teen." Jake groaned, half laughing. "Oh, come on. I'm no hero." "Yeah," Luis grinned. "Tell that to the internet." The next days blurred. Reporters called. A morning show invited him for an interview. Messages poured in, from strangers, veterans, parents, even kids. One message stood out. A nonprofit for mobility technology wrote, "We'd love your insight on adaptive repair design." Jake read it twice, silent. He wasn't used to being noticed, especially for just doing what felt right. Later that night, Sitting alone in his dim shop, he stared at the rain still dripping from the awning outside. He whispered to himself, almost in disbelief, "All this just because I stopped?" He didn't know it yet, but that single choice had already begun to move lives far beyond that rainy road. Weeks passed, but the story never really faded. Instead, it grew, turning into something bigger than either of them expected. Emily's inbox filled with messages from strangers, people in wheelchairs, parents, students, even old veterans, all saying the same thing. "Your story made me believe again." She started replying to each one message at a time. And somewhere in those late-night replies, a new idea began to form. A month later, she stood in a small community hall downtown, a room that smelled faintly of oil and fresh paint. Beside her were shelves stacked with donated parts, old batteries, and repaired wheelchairs. A handmade sign read, "Kindness in Motion, Free Repairs, Shared Hope." And right beside her, tightening a bolt with that familiar calm focus, was Jake. He wiped sweat from his forehead, smirked, and said, "You sure you're not just using me for free labor?" Emily grinned. "Maybe, or maybe I just like having someone around who can actually fix things." He chuckled softly. "Guess we both do our fixing differently." It became their rhythm. Weekends spent side by side, repairing what others had thrown away. Children rolled in with squeaky wheels and left smiling. Elderly folks brought broken chairs, walked away with gratitude shining in their eyes. Every repair felt like a small rebellion against indifference, a way of saying, "We still see." Sometimes Jake caught Emily watching him with quiet pride. Once he teased, "What's that look for?" She shrugged, eyes soft. "Just thinking." "You really did change everything that night?" He paused, meeting her gaze. "No," he said gently. "We did." By the end of the day, laughter filled the workshop, blending with the hum of electric motors and the clatter of tools. Outside, the world still hurried by, but inside, kindness had found motion again. What began with a broken wheelchair on a rainy road had turned into a movement, one repair, one stranger, one act at a time, and every time someone new walked through the door, Emily would smile and say, "Welcome. You're exactly where you need to be." Months later, the city hall glowed with warm light and quiet applause. Cameras flashed as Jake stood awkwardly behind the podium, a mechanic in his best jacket, looking both proud and out of place. They called him the man who reminded the world to stop. He cleared his throat, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm not great with speeches," he began, "but if you're here because you think I'm special, don't be. I just didn't look away. That's all." He glanced at Emily in the front row, her smile steady, eyes shining. "So if you really want to honor this night," he continued softly, "don't clap for me. Clap for every person who decides to care." The crowd rose, applause echoing through the hall. Emily whispered to herself, tears glinting, "Guess Dad was right. There are good people everywhere."